Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Anna Wall. I'm the Chief Curator of the Pensacola Museum of Art. Thank you for joining us this evening for a virtual puppet making workshop with Miss Pussycat. Miss Pussycat's work is currently on display in our exhibition, I Forgot to Laugh, Humor and Contemporary Art, which you can see is my Zoom background. I'm actually at home like the rest of you. I hope you'll come by the museum. We're open Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays from 10 to 4 and see Miss P's work in person. Tonight's event is going to be split into two parts. The first part is going to be a short artist talk where Miss Pussycat describes her career and her work. And the second will be a hands-on workshop where she will show us how to make our own tabletop puppet theaters and a variety of different kinds of puppets. We've set up tonight's event as a Zoom meeting instead of a webinar so that during the workshop portion, you can interact and talk directly with Miss Pussycat and ask her questions about your own puppets and her work. But for the first portion, we're going to disable your microphones for her artist talk. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in chat and we will make sure that Miss P answers them. And during the workshop portion, if you're more comfortable using chat, you can do that as well. And we will be recording this evening and then posting it to our YouTube channel and website later. So if you want to revisit it and make some more puppets with Miss Pussycat, you can. And I don't want to take any more time away from her tonight, so I'll let you take it away.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Miss Pussycat, or Panacea Theriac, and I'm here in my workshop in New Orleans, Louisiana. And first of all, thank you everyone at the museum, Anna and Caitlin and Carrie, so much for having me be part of this show and for working so hard on putting this workshop together. I know it's been a crazy year. So I've been a puppeteer since I was a kid. It's not very glamorous, but it's sincere. I got involved in puppetry because I was in the Christian Puppet Youth Ministry at the Southern Baptist Church in Antlers, Oklahoma, where I grew up. And it's a very small town. There's not much to do except go to church. So when I was a kid, I was in the Christian Puppet Youth Ministry. And we went on tour to other churches and did stories of the Bible with puppets. And the church ordered a kit, and we just followed along. And really, it's not that, it's very similar to what I do now. I later went on to college and got as far away from the small town as I possibly could. And I went to Evergreen and Olympia, Washington. And mostly I studied art. It was a very liberal college. You didn't have to have a major or a minor, which was perfect for me because I like doing lots of different things, which is perfect for a puppeteer. And when I was a kid, I didn't think, oh, I want to be a puppeteer when I grew up. I studied art in college. And after I got out of college and moved to New Orleans, I realized the art world's really tough. That's a whole other different subject, but I just really didn't fit in. And that's okay. I was doing shows in my house. I loved bands, and the music scene was kind of more my scene. And so I started promoting shows, and I had a secret clubhouse in my house called Pussycat Caverns. And it was me and a couple of my other girlfriends, and we put on shows and bands played. And if you've ever promoted a show, you know that no band wants to go first. So eventually I was like, you know what? I'll just do a puppet show and I'll go first. And it was so much fun. And I really haven't stopped since. And it was perfect. It's like, oh, I set up and I do a puppet show, and then I can be around all these cool people that are in bands that I want to be around. And I can kind of make fun of everything in a puppet show. Puppets are really good for satire. And oh, my puppets can start a band, and they did. It was called Flossie and the Unicorns. And Flossie and the Unicorns, this was in the 90s, actually put out records. Other people put them out. The first one was on Hanson out of Ann Arbor, and Aaron Dillaway put that album out. Later was in the band Wolf Eyes. And 2 were out on Skin Graft out of Chicago. And I was like, oh, I can make zines about my puppets because they're in a band and they put out records. And then eventually the puppets went on tour. And my first tour was going on tour with Quintron, and I opened for him. And we met doing a show at Pussycat Caverns, and the rest is history. One of the things, I like a lot of things about puppetry. It's every art form you can imagine in one. So it's kind of like a giant talking collage or a sculpture. If you like to paint, you can paint. If you like writing, it's writing. Music, making weird electronic soundtracks, 3-dimensional design, sympathetic magic, all these things can be part of puppetry. So it's never boring. And I really like that because I like to sew, I like to paint, I like to write, I like weird electronic music soundtracks and recording with kids have 4 tracks. And so there's a lot. It's a long process to make a puppet show. I think a lot of times people think, oh, it's just a little puppet show. It's this easy little thing for kids. And I think it's actually one of the most difficult things you can do. I mean, it is for kids, but it's not at the same time. It can be really difficult. And and this is where it gets really deep. When I'm working on a puppet show, it's really hard. And I get to the point sometimes where I feel like I'm gonna die. And it's almost like I die. It's so hard because it's really cerebral. Nothing just pops out fully formed. You kind of have to go into an alternate universe and talk to it. And if you knew what was going to be there on the other side, why would you bother to go? It's going to be this weird surprise. And I find that very engaging. There's something very metaphysical about puppetry, and also very intellectual. A lot of puppeteers are historians, and they're only studying other puppeteers' work. A group that I'm part of is the Puppeteers of America, and I think it's the longest running arts organization in the United States. I forget what year it was formed. It was in the 30s. The first it's like a guild for puppeteers. And they put out a magazine called the Puppetry Journal 4 times a year. And there's all kinds of resources available through the Puppeteers of America. So if you're interested in puppetry, I encourage you to join this group. It's very special. And they have festivals. And on odd numbered years, they have regional festivals, and on even numbered years, they have national festivals. And you get to meet a lot of other puppeteers this way and take workshops. And a lot of the things that I've learned through taking workshops and like other puppeteers.
I muted myself.
Okay, you're unmuted, Cheryl. A lot of puppeteers are largely self-taught. There's a lot of books at libraries that you can check out to learn about puppetry. And that's a great resource. And let's see, some of my favorite puppeteers, there's a lot, but one of my favorite shows is called Brothers Buzz. And that's a really good one. It was out of San Francisco. It was created by the Latham Foundation, and you can find it on YouTube. I also really love the Andersons. They were British, and they did shows called, they did a bunch. One was Stingray, Thunderbirds, Joe 90, and it was Super Marionation. And they mostly worked in the 50s and 60s. And they did a lot of television shows for the BBC. They're one of my favorites. So that's a little bit just about me and puppetry. There's different kinds of puppets. There's puppets that you work from below, like hand puppets and rod puppets, and puppets that you work from above, like marionettes. And what we're going to be talking about today is model or toy theater. And basically, and this is a small, what's in your kit, if you got one, is a small version of this type of theater that pretty easy to assemble. But you can also make this type of theater out of a cardboard box, or you can make it out of Luan or plywood. You know, that's the thing about puppetry. There's a lot of ways you can go with it, and you can make a puppet show out of almost anything. You can go look in your garbage can and you can make a puppet show out of what's in there probably. So that's one of the fun things. There's lots of weird materials and tools, and it's very tactile. So with all that, I feel like I've just been talking and talking and talking. Okay. So with that, I'm going to move into our workshop, and if people have questions, they can ask, and if you have your kits, you can get them out. At the very end of this, I'd like to have a little time so that people can ask questions. But questions along the way,
That's right.
feel free to ask. So, okay, and I'm going to show you what we're going to make today, because I've made a couple for us. So, this is a model theater that I made with our kit. Isn't it so cute? And it's got a little curtain you can raise up. Whoop. I'll show you how to make these backgrounds. This person is underwater. Whoop. All right, so this is one of the theaters. So this is another theater, basically, that we're going to be making. Same model, kit, and this theater is inside my puppet theater. Woo, that's the inside. We're going to make these puppets very easy. And you can add on to your puppet theater. Ah. So I'm going to give you an aerial view of this theater before we start actually working. So, sorry, my studio is a little crazy. So that's kind of the aerial view. There we go. And you can see that there's the curtain, and we can have different backdrops. This was just a piece of plastic. I like to save plastic bags because I can turn them into a puppet backdrop. This is one of the puppets. I'll show you how to make out of brown paper bags. Change backdrops. Yay, maybe they're at a disco. So, let's see. If y'all want to get your kits out, I'll switch my view around. See my workspace. Okay, so first of all, and I think this kit's really simple, and if you didn't get a kit, you can download it. I think it's available if you signed up for the class. This is 110 weight cardstock, 11 by 17. So you could use cardboard, you could use Luan, you can use wood, you can use a cardboard box. So first of all, everybody's got your kit. Cut this out. You can cut out the proscenium window here. David, do I see you cut? No, Donald, are you cutting? Okay. Okay, so we're gonna cut this out. You're gonna end up with a bonus piece of cardstock. Don't throw it away. Now fold these other parts. See, there's this dotted line, or you see a dotted line you want to fold. So fold these. Like that. Fold this one over here. Okay. And then down at the bottom of the proscenium, there's another little dotted line. Fold there. Fold over here. And then right there where it says cut, we're gonna cut right there to the dotted line. Like that, like this. So that we can fold it to make like a little box at the bottom. See? And then tape that. Or hot glue. Or you could staple.
If anybody has any questions for Miss P while she's putting her theater together, feel free to unmute yourself.
We want to tape it like that. And do the other one. Okay, so we got, is everybody to this point? Ah, Donald is, all right. Okay, now we're gonna move along to the support beams. And again, we're gonna cut this out. We're gonna end up with 2 support beams. Okay, cut along those straight lines. About like that, and then cut it in half. And then we're gonna fold these. So they're very supportive support beams. So it's like that. Do that for both of them. Okay, and again, save the cardstock. It's so nice, we could make puppets out of it. Okay, then we move right along to, oh, I gotta find my back wall. Okay, so we get to the back wall of the theater, fold it along the dotted lines. fold it over here. Got that. Then we take the floor of the theater and fold it so that, like this. See that? Goes down there. Fold it along the dotted line. So it's like that. We've got a little back flap, again, for support. Okay. So then you're gonna need some tape or hot glue. Now, you may notice that there's some letters, like here's the B, here's an E. They correspond to the other pieces. So we're going to take the back wall and line it up with this back flap, like this. And you will notice that the A lines up with the A. And tape it there. Just like that. And then add a little bit more tape. You don't have to go crazy, but you could. So we're there. Whoop. We need more support. So you'll notice when you turn it around that the B lines up with the B and the C lines up with the C right there. Now, we need a little more tape. Then you take the proscenium arch. This is a proscenium window. We're making a little tiny theater. You line it up. The corners, our columns should line up in these little spots right here. The E goes with the E, the D goes with the D, like that. Just like, pretty much like that. And then you tape a little bit on the inside. Ah, oh. And you do the other corner. And D goes like that. And it doesn't have to be exact, but you'll see if it's like, oh, okay, it's too bowed in, and then it looks weird, then straighten it out. See? Like that.
Miss P, do you always do your shows within a theater?
Yeah, I love puppet theaters. I think I like them more than puppets. They're my favorite puppets. It's so fun. You get to make your own world. It's like a clubhouse, a secret clubhouse. So yes, I do.
They are really great. And I know we can see your little tabletop theater within your big puppet theater behind you. Do you travel with the larger silver one behind you?
Yeah, and this one, I'm so proud of the way that it folds up. We probably won't have time, but I would take it apart and show you if there's time. Oh, I'm so proud of it. It's got something called fabric hinges.
That sounds exciting.
The whole theater fits into a suitcase. I can fly with it. So, but I've made lots of different kinds. I've made a bunch of inflatable puppet theaters too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, those are fun. So, okay, so you take your support beam now and see this wall, it keeps falling over. That's why we need the support beams that are folded up. You put it, it just folds over. See, like a sandwich, like that. One there. And line the G up with the G and the F with the F roughly, and tape it.
So Miss P, when you make an inflatable puppet theater, are they supersized?
Are they what?
Are they really big?
They're pretty big. They're puppet theater size. Those are for hand puppets that you work from below.
Okay.
So I need a couple of them, and it's, I mean, I'm sure, like, you already guessed how I did it. It's ripstop.
I have occasionally had my 3D design students do inflatable architecture. So,
Yeah,
but in that case, they're big. So, cool.
It could be, and I mean, I have to fit on stage, and Quintron has to have room next to me, so they can't be too big. So, okay, so we're taping the support beams on the inside to, see, you put a little tape in there, and then you do it on the other side, and it's a little funny. It doesn't. It might be a little taller right there. It's okay. So, I can already tell that Donald is going to get an A+. Okay, so we're going to tape this other support beam like that, with the H and I's lining up. Yeah, the thing about puppet shows and going on tour is you have to be able to pack it up and set it up pretty quickly. There's not a lot of time. I don't do shows in theaters. I do shows in rock clubs and basements and with a lot of bands usually. And so that's very quick on and off the stage. And sometimes it's really small. Sometimes there's not even a stage. Sometimes it's huge. It's the Kennedy Center, but that's very rare. So, and you have to set up really quick and break down quick. So packing is really important. So
how many puppets do you use for one show typically?
it just depends on the show. I mean, I don't know. I don't really count them, but I don't know. I mean, in a way, the more puppets, the better, but I mean, you can only hold so many puppets up at a time. I wish I had more arms, but it just depends. I mean, some shows it's just a few and some it's like 20. So, but I do like to make stunt doubles of puppets. So it's like, oh, if they get blown up or they change clothes, you just make more than one puppet. So, Donald, where are you? Oh, great, awesome. Okay, so we are here. Now, there should be some chopsticks or paint sticks in your kit. And we'll work on, I'll show you how to make curtains or backdrops. Take some tape. These chopsticks are great. Dowels, wooden dowels are actually kind of pricey. So you just save your chopsticks. And we're gonna tape them together. You can tape two together, about like that. And then they'll fit like that. Make sure, you know, it's long enough that it'll fit. And for backdrops, I mean, you can use a clear plastic bag and draw on it for a special effect. You can use fabric. You can use paper. You can use tinsel. There's lots of different things you can use for backdrops. Also, Christmas wrapping paper works really good if you want some wallpaper or like a birthday party scene. Maybe you've got some birthday wrapping paper for backdrop or set design. So your backdrop's gonna get attached to these chopsticks or paint sticks. You can do the same thing. You can tape them together and have them set right up here. So work on that, and then let's see, I want to show you a couple other things. So if there's not extra sheet in your kit, you can use these nice scraps for puppets. So you can glue stuff to the chopsticks or the paint sticks, or you could tape it. So just go like that. Now there's a couple different things with these types of puppets. You can have them operate from above. So, like that. They can, of course, be in front, or you can put them on a stick sideways like this, so that they can kind of slide into the set like this. So those are two different ways you can attach the puppets to their handles. And you can cut the puppets out of cardstock. You can also use cardboard, obviously, or I really like 1/8" birch plywood. It is wonderful. But I love cardboard and I love paper too. So sometimes I make things out of wood and then I cover them in plywood. I mean, I cover them in cardboard so that they look like cardboard, because I actually like the way cardboard looks. So different things you can do. This is like a very simple example of this. Let's see. So you can see. So if you want the arm to move, there should be some of these nice brass fasteners in your kit, like these. And you can use a hole punch and put them through, and then attach a little wire. And you can make a loop at the top of the wire to have it hang on your stick. And then you take it off when you want it to move, like that. So I'll show you a puppet that's similar to this, that's a little fancier. So this is Beowulf, and she's in a show called the Western Village Shopping Village, and she's got the same kind of control, so she can kill the vampires. She kills them with her sword, which has a pin on the end of it, because the vampire's heads are balloons. So that's how she kills them. But you can have that same kind of control. You can have 2 arms that you operate that way. If you don't have these brass fasteners, you can also just take a little piece of wire and bend it, and that works fine. Brass fasteners are really fancy, but they're great. Let's see, what's another? So here's, this is a puppet made out of the 1/8" birch plywood. And it has a little, I made a stand for it. You don't have to have a stand. And it's got, its arms can be operated the same way, but both of them. And there's something called a cotter pin, and cotter pins are great. They're basically like the brass fasteners, and they come in all different sizes. So the same idea. That's cotter pins. So if you have the stuff there to make a puppet, go ahead, or a backdrop, go ahead with that. And see where we get. Oh, and then there's this kind of puppet. I really like brown paper bags, actually. And it's amazing. Paper is actually really strong. It's made out of wood. So it's actually pretty durable. I have some brown paper bag puppets. They're actually, I don't have them. You guys have them. They're in Pensacola at the museum. But they've traveled thousands of miles, these puppets, and they're made out of brown paper bags, and they just look better and better. I think unless I get them wet or catch them on fire, they're going to be fine. So this is, if you have a chopstick or a paint stirrer stick, there's lots of ways you can make a brown paper bag puppet. You can take your brown paper bag. I think you all have them in your kit. And you crumple one up and poke a hole in the top of it. Poke a hole up here. And then take the chopstick and put it through the head like that. And then take this there and then put it inside. One inside the other. So that it's brain, like that. And then if you have some pipe cleaner, you can add a little glue, but basically that's one way you can make a puppet out of a brown paper bag. So I think it's good to have different textures in a show, and model theaters, typically everything is flat, like a piece of paper, but I do like to have some three-dimensional things in there. And you can make lots of different props and signs. With puppetry in general, show me, don't tell me. Don't say, I'm having the best day of my life. You show like, oh, like you found a puppy and it's super cute, and then there's a rainbow, and a leprechaun comes and gives you a box full of gold. Like, you show these things that would be like, oh, I had the best day ever. You wouldn't just say, and Jack had a great day. You would show all these things. So puppets are symbols, and we're speaking a language with them. And so think about the things that are fun to make and what they say and what they represent, and then put them together like type in a printing press. And then they form words, but it's in this language. So this is kind of like you're making a printing press in a way. And then you put the different typesets in there, and then they form words. But don't just say the words, show it so that we really understand. So signs are really good, and things coming down from above. So you can have, like this is a lamp from a show, and it's one piece of wire, and you can just hook it onto the backdrop. So you can make things, oh look, it's a ghost. So I can tell that Donald's theater is haunted. You can also make snow or confetti out of chopped up paper. One of my favorite things in the world. Oh, cool. I'm looking at Donald's. It's so good. Yeah. Cool. Okay, I'm gonna let you all work a little bit and rearrange my table, and then I'm gonna show you some of the stuff that's on my puppet theater and give you a little tour of the puppet theater over here while y'all tidy up. And you can you can put your puppet theaters all together to make like a wall of them. If you get really into it, you could just have like a wall of puppet theaters, or line them up to make like an apartment complex.
I was going to let everyone know, Miss Pussycat has said that she's really interested to see what everyone makes with their kits and their puppets after the workshop. So we're going to be sending out an email encouraging you to submit videos of your puppets, photos of your puppets, and we might put together a special project to show at the museum and definitely to share with Miss P. And thank you to Donald for showing us your progress. It's really awesome. Yes, and Maria, good work.
All right. Okay, so let's see. So this is kind of a wider view of my puppet theater, the big puppet theater, one of the theaters I take on tour. And it's really similar to the one that's in the kit. It's, you know, the little ones are great because you can do it really fast and with whatever you have. But this is a larger one, and you know, when you're doing something live, people have to see you, and you never know how big the room is. But this is the same, basic, very similar design. So let's see. There. so you can see. So these curtains, so got one of those up there, and normally be back here. So very similar to this. And I usually use a folding table. I think it's like 3 by 6 feet. I'll take you backstage now. And you can store everything on these poles and have them hanging down for when you're ready for them. And here is like these slots that I cut into an 1/8 inch piece of birch, and you can store your puppets because you have to go really fast when you're a puppeteer. So, you know, you can't be looking around in your purse for your puppets. They've got to be right there. So that's what that wooden thing is for. This is a Jig Doll. I'm really into Jig Dolls lately. And so he dances. So 1/8 inch birch. And let's see. You can just keep adding on to your puppet theater. Like I just made this wall. It was actually part of a Mardi Gras costume. I was a robot. And then I was like, oh, it could be part of the puppet show. There's that. So if people have questions, I am here to answer them, either about your kits or about puppetry or New Orleans.
I have a question, Miss P. You showed us Beowulf, and at the museum in the exhibition we have the History of Ancient Egypt puppet show and theater. So what are the inspiration for your shows? How do you come up with ideas?
Well, I'm always keeping track of my ideas. I feel like besides puppet theaters, I think ideas might be my favorite thing. But I don't think that you get ideas. I think ideas have you. But you have to be ready. So I have notebooks all over the house. And in fact, like my table that I'm sitting at, it's got just butcher paper on it. So it's kind of a notebook too. I can write on it. So I'm always trying to remember my ideas, and I'm always thinking about it. But I'm very inspired by my friends. I'm very inspired by my neighborhood. And like, you really need to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And you need to show people, not just tell them. It's good to have a bad guy. A story is so much more interesting if there's evil involved. It's good to have a goal. The main character needs to be changed a little bit by the end of the story, and see progress. So there's a lot of pieces to put together, and you don't have much time in a puppet show. You're moving fast. You're doing a lot of things at once. You're trying to do it visually. You know, I'm not just reading you a story, I'm showing you. But the history of ancient Egypt, I really like history, and that's just kind of my thing. I like to read in my spare time. And Cleopatra is really fascinating. She's the last pharaoh of Egypt. So they're different things. I mean, I find that you need to tell the truth. You can tell a pack of lies as long as they tell the truth at the end, and that it has some depth and meaning. I do like gobbledygook and just interesting textures and jello and things like everybody else, but we get bored with gobbledygook. It can't just be a cute, you will not last very long if it's just cute. If you just say it's a puppet and therefore it's cute, ha ha ha, it gets old really fast. And so you need to have something you want to say. And also, and this is the thing about puppetry, I don't know if anything else quite like it. It's kind of magic. So you have to be really careful because it's powerful. So you need to make sure you have a happy ending. You know, if there's evil, if there's bad people, if the mean witch Christy Cornpop casts a spell on the magical force, you need to make sure that at the end that you've made friends with Christy Cornpop, or that you've solved a problem. You can't, I find that it's very dangerous if you don't. So there's a lot going on.
We had a question from Donald too. He asked, how does the big stage break down?
Okay, I'll show you. I have to move the light. Move everything. First, you move all of your puppets and you carefully pack them up into their trunk. And then this is one of my favorite pipes. It's made out of brushed aluminum. I got it from McMaster-Carr. This part back here, just, oh, I wish you could see it back here, but you can't. It's so beautiful. Okay. Careful. Well, I'll show you that later. That's it.
Next semester's 3D design students are in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted something that didn't have any screws or wing nuts. I've had a lot of wing nuts and door hinges in my life on tour, and it's just better to not have them. So.
Miss P, when you were talking, to circle back to the idea of magic, before in the beginning you mentioned sympathetic magic.
Yeah.
That's a phrase I haven't heard before. Can you tell me more about it?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, sympathetic magic, well, there's different types, but the one that probably most people would be familiar with is voodoo. And I'm not saying I'm doing voodoo at all. I don't know anything about it, but it's similar in that, like a voodoo doll, that you are, what happens to this object happens in the real life, in the real world. And I find that puppetry can be, it's an innate quality of puppetry. And so we need to be careful with our intentions, and aware. So if I'm making a beautiful world where I become friends with the mean witch Christy Corn Pop, then I will make a happy world on the outside where I'm familiar and can navigate evil in the real world. So it's so funny, you know, like it's true. I mean, things happen in puppet shows. You make something happen in a puppet show and it might manifest itself in the outside world. And I think anytime you're really dwelling on something, and especially if you're with your hands making it and you're thinking about it every day, it can manifest itself. And so just be cautious. You know, if you're thinking about really dark things, be aware that you're thinking about dark things and that it's powerful, you know, and also with good, you know, but because we're making these three-dimensional objects, we're touching them, we're investing a lot of our intuition. It's sympathetic magic, but a voodoo doll is the classic example. So
that totally makes sense. And it also makes sense for other forms of art that, you know, when you are spending a lot of time thinking about them and thinking about your ideas and your process, that's how you're orienting your attention. And so it's really interesting to talk about you manifesting things, essentially. Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions? Well, if anyone does end up with questions about puppetry or this project, I think that the museum's gonna have my email available in the follow-up, and I would love to see what people do. I really would. And if you're like, want to know more about books on puppetry or the Puppeteers of America, just reach out, because I love talking about puppetry. I can go on and on. So.
Thank you so much, Miss Pussycat, and thank you for welcoming us into your studio. It's so nice to go into your world just for an hour. And we put Miss P's email in the chat, and we'll also send out a follow-up email tomorrow with her email and our email in case you want to share any of your creations. And we just thank you all for joining us and hope to see you at the museum soon. And Miss P, tell them about your new album too.
Oh, yeah. Quintron and I have, everything's going on. Quintron and I have a new album that came out last Friday on Gunner Records out of Memphis, Tennessee. It's called Goblin Alert. And it was recorded in Florida. I've always wanted to record an album in Florida. I love Florida. It's my favorite state. So we recorded at Pulp Arts in Gainesville. And Quintron and I are normally, Quintron plays organ and he makes all kinds of wonderful inventions like the drum buddy, and I sing and play maracas. And normally we play along to a drum machine, and we have a live drummer on this record. And live guitars and Benny Devine playing talk box. So yeah, and there's videos and it's all happening. But we can't go on to our 2 live shows, so.
Hopefully soon, or maybe virtual. Let us know.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you to everyone for attending. Have fun with your puppets tonight.
Thanks, Miss P.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.